Was Chucky your ultimate house?
Was The Last of Us last on your list?
Or did The Exorcist make you a believer?
Join us for our Halloween Horror Nights 32 house rankings.
This is episode 584 of the Unofficial Universal Orlando Podcast. Hey everybody, welcome to the show. My name is Chris. I will be your host with the most today, but I am not alone. Today, joining me, we have Lee.
Hello, Ron.
Tracy.
Hello, everyone. Oh, God, kill Lee, because for some reason he seems to have stolen my greeting.
I've always said
You haven't
hello.
always
Yes, I
said
have.
that.
You go back and listen to the other 500
I'm not
episodes
going to
of
listen
this
to
shit
this
we've
one. Why
done.
would I go back and listen to any? Anyway.
Yeah, that's
That's Lee and Tracy.
That's Lee and Tracy. Yeah. Also, that voice you just heard is Michelle.
Hi.
And we have a special guest today, who you heard prior when we were talking about our house hype list, Laura.
Hi, guys.
Yeah, because Brian's not allowed on anymore, so we've invited Laura instead.
Put him on a gag order, I think.
Yep.
We don't like Brian anymore.
Oh!
Damn.
Wow!
The thing is, he's
Speak
listening. I can
yourself.
see him absolutely killing himself laughing right now.
Lee Robert Malaby.
Oh, you see, you missed it.
There you go.
He did it in real life. IRL. Hashtag IRL.
All right, let's not get too derailed here, guys, because I got yelled at for that already before.
Yeah.
So, as you heard in the title, we will be discussing, this is the big one. This is our house rankings. And then we're also going to have, once we get all the other ones in, we will have the official, unofficial Universal Orlando Podcast house ranking, listener rankings. But for now, you're going to hear what we think here of these houses. And to start things off with number 10, Michelle, going over to you.
Ooh.
Oh, I'm sure this one is not a big surprise to anybody, and I will be quite disappointed if this is not true for everybody's list. My number 10 is Chucky, Ultimate Kill Count.
Really?
What?
Wow.
What?
I know.
didn't
It's
see that
shocking.
coming.
Shocking. I was disappointed. They hyped it up on the Discovery Universal podcast
Of course.
about this whole sub story, and it did not translate. I went through it several times, and he was cute. Like, the little animatronic dude was super cute at the beginning.
Yes.
There were a couple of cute moments. Like, I loved his little feet sticking out from under the cabinet. I was like, but you don't want to go to Halloween Horror Nights to see a cute house. I shouldn't be saying it's cute, but it was cute. It was weird. And that whole section in the middle, when it opens up and there's the guy up on the staircase talking, some of the people that I was with were so confused. They were like, wait, there's more of the house? Is that guy part of the house? What is happening? It was just awful.
We'll get
was
there
awful.
later. Michelle, you had this at number 7 on your hype list.
Oh yeah. No.
Wow. Well, Lee, since you were just talking right now, where do you have this? What is your number 10?
I love how he goes, where did you have this? Chucky.
Yep.
Funnily enough, I also have this at number 10.
Oh.
And I had this at number 8 on my hype list. Yeah, it was awful. I said on our hype list episode, I said this house would stand or fall on how good those puppets are. And that first one was awesome. And that's where it ended. Because the rest were terrible.
Yep.
And the story didn't come through. That meta story was cool in theory. In practice,
Yep.
It was very, very poor. Put it this way: the fact that it was the only house on our RIP tour that we only did once tells you a lot about it.
Oh, that's true. I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
It was terrible.
Well, I mean, that's the opinion of two, Horror Nights veterans. Let's hear from somebody who it's their first event, right? What did they think about it? Laura, what do you have?
Yeah, so
What's your number 10, actually? Not what you think about Chucky, but what's your number 10? I don't know why I keep on doing it for this one, but you know what I mean.
coincidentally, my number 10 is also Chucky. And it was actually also my number 10 on my hype list because I just don't like Chucky stuff except for the original movie back in the day.
According to your hype list I have here for when you were on our show is number 9, Laura.
Oh, okay. Well, on my notes, it's number 10. I guess that's what I did on my podcast was number 10. But that part that Michelle talked about in the middle was actually my favorite part of the house. I was really surprised when we went outside. I was like, "That's it. Oh, that was not what I thought." And then when we got to go in more, and it was better. I was like, "Okay, this is fun." I didn't realize there was going to be ever a time where I could go outside and then it would come back in. So that was surprising to me.
Yeah, and that's the difference with us going through it for Blumhouse last year. We knew that section was going to be there.
Mm-hmm. But it's kind of weird too, right? When that actor is not there, it's just like dead silence in between.
Yeah, it was weird last year with the Blumhouse of literally nothing there.
Yeah, it was very strange. Yeah.
All right, Tracy, what do you have your number 10 at?
Number 10, Dr. Oddfellow.
You're lying.
I'm lying, it's Chucky. Of course.
We're going to get a clean sweep.
Like Laura, I am not a fan of Chucky. I don't even like the original movie. I did like the TV
I was going to
series,
say we did
though.
enjoy what we saw of it.
So it did have a few moments that I liked. I really liked the opening scene as you walked in. That first animatronic should have set the standard. Sadly, didn't.
Yep.
Little bald Chucky. That was just.
And that was obviously, we watched the walkthrough last night, and that wasn't meant to be there. And so obviously his wig had come off.
What was the bit I was going to talk about?
The feet.
Oh, the feet was cool. The feet were cool. I don't know what the grammar is there.
The only cool part in this house was the trigger, the guest activated trigger.
See, where was that?
It was right before the fireplace.
Oh,
There's
the
a big
Christmas
red
section.
button on the side that you push, and it makes the fireplace light up and have smoke billowing out of it.
Okay.
You see, I think by that point I'd checked out mentally.
Yeah.
I only knew it was there because Rich pointed it out.
Yeah, but that's where I was going. My favourite kill from the TV show was in there, which was the hypodermics.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But it didn't redeem itself enough to move it any further up the list.
In Tracy's drug-induced South Korean hype list, she had this at number 4.
Drug!
I don't know what the
drugs.
hell was going on with you over there, because everyone
What?
looked at your hype list and went, "What the hell is that?"
My hype list was, I forgot, I've got 5 minutes,
Yep.
quick scribble something
It
down.
was number 4.
That
But
was
you
a
don't
funny
even like
episode to
Chucky.
I know.
record because of where your rankings were. It was hilarious.
I think you just rolled a D10 10 times, Tracy.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I think it was up there because it's tried and tested. I may not like the franchise, but you can't really fail with it. But then again, we've seen that time and time again. So yeah.
Okay.
Cool. I had Chucky at number 1. No, 10. Sorry, I didn't see the 0. 10. Yeah. Yeah, like you guys said, this house just. Where did I have it on my hype list, Lee? Was it not 10 before or no?
You had it at number 7.
Yeah. And the reason why I had it for 7, if I remember correctly, is because I was excited, or not excited, but optimistic to see how they would do like these puppets and, this character going around crazy, and obviously the hype up of, oh, he's taken over. So, there could be some employees in there or this or that. And yeah, this house just wasn't it. And that, and like halfway through, just because I guess I was annoyed of the house, I couldn't stand listening to his laugh anymore. Like it was just blowing in your ear the entire time. And I know that's a Chucky thing, but still super annoyed by the time you get out of there. It's just like, yeah, got that over with. So number 10.
Yeah, I think we only went through it twice.
3 times, I think.
It wasn't much.
No.
It was the least of the house we did the least.
Yeah.
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 That also looks like the worst chant in history on our list on screen.
All right. So clean sweep there. Yep.
No surprise.
Number 10, Chucky. Now let's move on to number 9. Where do we want to go here? You know what? Lee, start us off.
I'm interested to see where everyone else has got this, actually. Number 9 for me was Stranger Things. And I'll be honest, I struggled whether to flip-flop it with Chucky a few times.
Oh.
It was not.
Wow.
It was not a good house. I think it was Gillian I was going through. We commented like, "Oh, there's not a lot of static figures in the houses this year," and then went through Stranger Things and went, "Oh, because they're all in here."
Yeah.
it was like, I think you and I talked about it, Chris. Like The Last of Us and Stranger Things were your promotional houses this year. That's what's bringing people in. And yet there wasn't a ton of actors in that house, I didn't feel. There was a lot of static figures. It was
Stranger Things?
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. And it didn't even look like the set pieces matched.
No.
Like with where they are.
And it was, like, scenic-wise, it was really good. There were some great scenes in it. The 11 and 1 scene when she's blasting him in the upside down was so cool.
That was good.
Yeah.
But other than that, like, the Mindscape scene was there was one actor in there. Like, to be honest, when you walked in, the focus was on the team member in there pushing you along more than Vecna was, to be fair.
That's the problem I find with houses, though, more and more as we go. It seems to be there's just team members that are too visible.
Yeah.
And it pulls you out too much, or the stood in front of information that you need to see that's part of the set. They really need to sort that out. Sorry.
And then the like rooftop scene thing with Eddie and Dustin, I thought they completely dropped the ball on it. Completely dropped the ball. Like, everyone's like, I asked for one thing from this house. Eddie on top of there playing Master of Puppets with his guitar.
Deafeningly loud.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. And the music was so quiet, and it was just like, ugh. Yeah.
Did they ever fix that, like, later on in October?
No.
Did they ever have him playing the guitar?
Not as far as I'm aware.
No, because I still saw people complaining about it on other pass holder pages.
That's such an easy thing to have done, and they didn't do it. It's so weird.
Yeah.
It has to be 100% licensing, but it's just weird because they had the music playing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
they maybe couldn't have him pretending to play it.
Maybe.
But they still could have had it blasted.
But then for me,
Metallica.
then just don't do that. Yeah. Don't do that scene then.
And I'm sorry, but you needed more than 3 bats.
Yeah, it just, yeah. And I had this at number 5 on my hype list. No, I didn't.
Okay.
I had it at number 4, sorry.
Oof.
Even higher. Yep. All right. Laura, where did you have this? Or where'd you have it, number 9?
What did I have at number 9?
Yeah.
At number 9, I have The Last of Us.
Okay.
I was just similarly disappointed in that. I was excited about going to The Last of Us, and I had played the game leading up to it, so I felt like I was ready. I was very familiar with what Pittsburgh should look like, and I got there, and after like that first room, which did look very much like the truck crash scene, like after that, it didn't recognize anything. And I mean, yes, the costumes were awesome for the bloaters and everything, but I was just disappointed in the house as a whole.
Okay.
We will talk about this later, I am sure.
Yeah. Or right now, because I'll go in and I'll say Last of Us. I have it number 9 as well.
Wow. I did not think you would have it that low.
It was swapping between 8 and 9. How about that? So I agree, Laura. Lee, you know how much I love this property. How much we love this property.
Yep.
Right. And we talked about it countless times. And I want to say that the overhyping of it maybe caused some of the disappointment in it.
Of course.
But even that aside, Laura mentioned it. You go in, you have the car accident scene, which is almost out the books or out of the video game, right? You know where you are. And then it just becomes this mismatch of zombies. I know they're infected, but zombies, what it felt like at certain points. Even to the extent of, Tracy, I think you said before that, seeing team members around is becoming an issue. Seeing some scare actors just blatantly open, which were in multiple houses this year, as opposed to other years. There was that one that looked like Michonne just standing out in the open, like you can see him from far away. It just did not do anything for me there.
Was that the outside portion?
The outside. Yep.
Yeah, with the burning bodies. Yeah.
Yep. And, it's... We talked about it before. I don't know if on an episode or not, but you go and watch Hollywood's Last of Us and you watch ours. Theirs is fantastic. Well, 50% of theirs is fantastic. About 50 is on ours. You put those together, you'd have a really good house.
Yeah.
We had almost no Ellie and Joel. they had almost no clickers or monsters or anything like that. We did get some bloaters and things there, but it wasn't enough to send home, this is The Last of Us. So I don't know. I think they also dropped the ball on this one too. It's even the clicker noise, one of the most identifiable, noticeable things in the game. And it was used in one room barely, I think, maybe 2 rooms. Like that should have been an overarching theme, I think, throughout almost the entire house, because it's something you're really thinking about all the time in the video game. So why not do that in the house?
Yeah, and it's a really disturbing sound. Like that sound, if it was loud enough, and it would really make the hairs on the back of your neck stand up.
Or if they managed to feed that through binaurally, so you felt surrounded by it, that would be so effective.
I think a lot of the time where you said the overall ambience of the house drowned out really the clicker noises, to be fair. And I said right from the start, I want one of those quiet rooms like they had in graveyard games, with just that creepy clicker noise in, because it would have been amazing.
That would have been cool.
Yeah.
Especially if it was pitch black.
There were good parts to it. I'm not just knocking everything down on it. I love like when you're putting the mask on, or you see Joel putting it on, you're going through the bathrooms, and it's like the bloaters. Like I thought the monsters looked pretty good. To that extent. There was even, I think, our first or second run, which is one of the funniest things, was the bloater like came out of his scare spot, and the girls, I forgot who, I think Alexa and somebody else, they were in front of me, and then they were like, he was like scaring them, and they ran. And then he just kept on running after them. Like he was not supposed to leave that spot, but he was messing with them. I thought that was awesome. But yeah, just not enough to live up to the franchise it was trying to be. And I think that hurts it from a ranking standpoint.
And you had this at number 1.
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
And again, I went through this house the first time. I'm like, okay, it's not bad. But after going over it multiple times, I saw the flaws that other people were mentioning. And my main thing was I just wanted to feel like I was in the game, and I got that a little bit, but then to a certain point, it's like, but also it's supposed to be specific parts of the game, and I'm not getting that either. Yeah. So it just kind of, it just falls off hard for me.
Yeah. I mean, Tracy, I'm replaying the game now, and we've literally just finished the Pittsburgh section, and then we did the rewatch of the house. We'll talk about it later, I'm sure.
Yeah. All right, Tracy.
Yes.
What do you got at number 9?
Stranger Things, strangely enough, just didn't do it for me. Yeah, I don't know. It just too. Yeah, like Lee said, we obviously we've discussed it a lot, but it was too static. There was too much dead time, and not in a good way. It was. I mean, there's things that. Yeah, I feel like certain actors could have had a little bit more than stepping forward and shouting "Flambe."
Oh my God, that poor Robin at the end had the worst job.
However, there was one of those Robins that was the absolute double.
There were, but she had the worst scare actor job at this event. That literally every 10 seconds just had to stand out and pretend to throw a Molotov cocktail and shout, "Look, Flambe!"
And it was like back to back. Like there was not even a gap in there. Yeah. It was just over and over.
Yeah.
I feel bad for her. Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's anything that actually stood out to redeem it. Maybe this should have been number 10, thinking about how I spoke about positives of Chucky.
It suffered from exactly the same thing the house of 2019 did.
Like we said, there wasn't enough actual actors moving about in there. It needs to be a lot more kinetic than it was. I did like the massive Vecna.
Really? I thought that was terrible.
I quite liked that. Not that I noticed it the first time I went through, completely bypassed that. How, I don't know, but I can't really say anymore. For me, after going through once, if I hadn't gone through again, I'd have been fine.
I agree with you, to be quite honest. I mean, put it this way, when we did our live recording for our episode while we were there, and we were doing live reactions coming out of the house during our RIP too, I think we talked more about that house than any other that night, and all over it.
Yeah. The length of the line, you didn't get a payoff at the end for waiting that long.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So what did I have that at?
You had this at number 6.
Okay.
You're not the biggest Stranger Things fan either, though.
I was. I just think the franchise is just getting overstretched out now.
See, I'm probably as high on it as I am as I've ever been now, because I rewatched all 4 seasons going into the event.
Yeah.
Which is why it was as high up on my list, on my hype list as it was. But anyway.
All right. Michelle, what do you got at 9?
Okay, these next 3, 7, 8, and 9 are very interchangeable for me. But my number 9 finally landed at The Last of Us. And I have the opinion, I have a fresh opinion of it because I do not play the game. I've seen the show, but I have not played the game nor finished watching the walkthrough of it. I actually could have put it up a little bit higher because I thought the costumes were phenomenal. The masks, like of the clickers and the bloaters, the costumes of the bloaters were great. I had a few really fun, like memorable experiences in this house this year that will stand out for me. One of them was with Alexa when the bloater got us really good. So I had some fun moments, but overall, all of the things that you guys already said rang true. Like it wasn't really scary. I feel like there could have been a lot. I feel like it could have been scarier for sure. Like the content that Last of Us has, especially the show.
Yep.
I know this is based off of the game, but it's still very similar. The content is there. So I just don't know why they didn't like go out with it full force. I don't know, that it didn't make much sense to me for that. And it 100% was not worth that wait.
No, it wasn't. You're right. 2 hours we waited for that thing for that first night.
No way is it worth that wait ever. So yeah, Last of Us.
It is crazy though. I mean, you see people loving every single house there, but a lot of people liked it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And things.
Michelle had this at number 3 on her hype list.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. You know, we all have to face disappointment sometime in our life, right?
Yeah.
It's usually at Halloween Horror Nights.
Well, you know, and it's funny that all of us,
all the IP houses.
Yeah.
Well, all of us put the top 2 headliners at the bottom.
Yeah. No, I haven't got it at the bottom. Neither's Tracy.
Well, towards the bottom.
Well, not towards you have a Stranger Thing. We have a Last of Us.
Oh,
that's what I'm saying. Like our number 9 are the 2 top headliners.
Okay. Yeah. But is that a Horror Nights fan thing potentially? Because we don't tend to lean towards the IPs as a rule anyway.
Yeah, but this one's a weird one because these are like, it's not just like 2 IPs; it's 2 of the largest IPs out there.
Yeah,
and relevant. It's not like they brought Jason in, you know.
Yeah,
or it's just it's an odd one. It's very odd.
It is.
Cool. Let's move on to number 8. Who hasn't gone first yet? Tracy, have you gone first? No, Michelle?
Yeah, I'll go first because my number 8 is Stranger Things, surprisingly. And I figured I'd go ahead and jump in since we've already been talking about Stranger Things. Anybody who listens to this podcast knows I am a huge Stranger Things fan, and I actually liked the last iteration of it at Halloween Horror Nights.
The house? Oh, okay.
I was fine with it.
I think you had your number 1 that year.
I think I did. This one was awful. There's only one redeeming factor for me in this house, and that is the part where you see Dustin up in the upside down, like up above you.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. But again, just static figures. There was no
super cool.
There was no movement to it.
It's quite difficult how an actor walking on a ceiling.
No, but you could have had somebody down, like on the floor, doing something. There was nothing. You literally just walked through it. I don't want to walk. It's just anyway.
It was a static figure, but it was still very, very cool.
It was.
And that's really the only reason why it beat out Last of Us for me. There was no actors, none. I couldn't believe it. That room that we walked through that had the coffin and the old lady jumped out. Like, what the hell was that?
I mean, random ghost lady.
Apparently, she's the lady from the car wreck.
Fred, yeah, it's the kid. So the news. See, I don't
even remember this.
So Fred from the newspaper that Robin.
Yeah.
Was it Nancy? No, Nancy was working at the time. He had a car crash and like ran away from it or whatever, and she was the woman who died in the car crash.
Wow, that's reaching.
Where'd you see this at?
I've heard it. A few people on a few podcasts have talked about it, and apparently that's what it is.
I'd be very curious where they got that information, because we got ours directly from Rich, who told us that is not anybody.
Okay.
I just saw it on a Facebook page last night or today, and they said that was what they were told on their Behind the Screams tour.
Interesting.
Really?
She's wearing pearls, and I feel like she's wearing a black dress.
Yes.
So I thought maybe it was her funeral outfit or something.
It was very strange.
See, because on the RIP tour that we did, when that came up, the second one, we asked Rich, and Rich has the guide of every single house. Like, creative writes down these notes, so he knows everything about every person in there. He goes, let's find out who that is. He goes to the house, goes to that part. It just says like zombie lady. Zombie lady, yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
Weird.
So I'm curious.
I don't know.
Just came up with fanfic at this point.
Yeah.
It was just it's just a weird scene. Like, it was a huge room.
That room sucked. There was nothing in there but a casket.
I think that
And
was,
it was
there was nothing else.
I feel like that for a lot of the rooms in that house, to be fair.
Think that was the theme.
It was so weird. And why? I don't know. Vecna showed up right at the beginning in front of Max's house. That was like weird. And then I don't know. It was just weird. It was just weird. They just needed more scare actors. That's like, I think they were on the right track, and it's almost like they ran out of time or couldn't hire enough people.
I think it was because they weren't trying to tell the linear story of that season. They were trying to focus on the Vecna bits, and it wasn't cohesive because they're not in a linear story. It felt kind of weird because of that, and I understand why they did it. And I think we'll also get on when I talk about The Last of Us. I think that suffers from the same thing a little bit. Yeah, it was not a good house. No. I agree with you wholeheartedly.
They should have just kept us in the mind layer the whole time and not even like tried to go along with the actual storyline, and just created their own kind of storyline in Vecna's mind layer. That would have been way better.
I would agree with you if they actually built out a good mind layer.
Yeah.
I thought it was all right. It was just a bit big. It felt big and empty because there was one Vecna in there, and that was it. It felt empty.
Wasn't that Vecna as you went
literally
to,
on your left hand side there?
Yeah, and then you had nothing else.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, Trace, what do you have at number?
I love how he still keeps going. Where did you have Stranger Things?
I don't know.
Well, Stranger Things I had at number 9, but at number 8, I actually had The Darkest Deal.
Okay. Michelle, did I say you had The Last of Us at number 3? By the way, 2. Sorry, on your hype list.
Wow.
Sorry, Tracy, carry on. Darkest Deal.
Like we've said all along, this was a really strong year. So it's not just because it's at number 8 doesn't mean that I hated it or anything like that. Just something that had to be at number 8. This one, for all there was elements that I really enjoyed, I seemed to miss a lot of scares, or not necessarily scares there. A lot of the set pieces I seemed to miss. I never saw the scroll in the opening scene where the signature worked.
Okay.
For me, it didn't, because it was supposed to write itself, wasn't it? Move along, light up.
Yeah.
It lights up, yeah.
Yeah, it didn't move along. It was about the first 3 letters just flashed up every single time I went through, because I was looking for it, because I knew it was supposed to look like. And obviously there was a problem with it, but that didn't get fixed the entire time we were there.
To be fair, we only did 3 nights. And
we did, but still, if it doesn't work one night, it should be working the next.
Yeah.
There were some really lovely moments in it, but it didn't set my world on fire. And there were the other ones I like better. It's number 8. I can't really say anymore.
No, it comes down to personal preference, right? I
yeah.
mean, what makes a good house? Did you enjoy it? Then it's a good house.
I mean, I did enjoy it. I enjoyed others more.
No, I'm just saying in general. Yeah, in general.
Yeah.
You had this at number 10 on your hype list.
Number 10. Oh, well, there you go. That's not too bad.
All right. Laura, what'd you have at number 8?
At number 8, I have Stranger Things, just like Michelle. I think it was like my number 1 or number 2 to start out, and I was very excited about it. And just like you guys have said, it was just I was disappointed.
Was your number 1?
It was my number one.
On the hype list you did on our show, yeah, it was number one.
Yeah. Yeah, I was excited about it, but I thought that the two IPs that I was most excited about were going to be like the top houses, and I was really just surprised that they didn't live up to what I thought they would be.
Spoilers, they never do.
I agree.
It's true
I'm
though, they
learning
don't.
that.
Okay. Lee?
Tracy and I aren't a million miles away from each other at this point. I also had the Darkest Deal at number 8. I didn't really get the story, if I'm honest, going through that house. It was weird. I've heard a few other people talk about it. Those, like, why there was, like, random zombies in, like, the bars and stuff when he was playing. I don't really understand what the hell they were about. The facade was awesome, to be fair. I did like that, of Bub's Lounge. And the last section, I wanted it to be Descendants of Destruction again from last year, because they did it much better than the Darkest Deal did. I don't know, it just didn't do anything for me. And like putting our listener house rankings together, a lot of people like this house a lot.
The soul taking scene was pretty cool.
It was pretty awesome, actually.
That was, you said
yeah, I know, Michelle,
Bluetooth.
you said they were using a lot of Bluetooth, and that was one of those moments,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah, it was.
It just didn't do anything for me at all. I didn't find it particularly scary. I mean, not that I do anyway, but you know what I mean. I appreciate a good house. It was just a generic haunted house, and that's about as much as I can say about it, to be fair. And I mean, I had it at number 8 on my hype list, so I've actually got it where it was on my hype list. That's interesting. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
It just didn't do anything for me.
And number 8, we're starting to get into somewhat interchangeable territory. But number 8, I have Dueling Dragons. Choose thy fate.
Wow.
Yeah.
What?
Now, hear me out. By no means do I mean it's a number 8 kind of house. But I appreciated and enjoyed other houses more than this one. This one is I think they did a really good job. I thought set pieces were great. I feel like it's one of the more technologically advanced houses they've done when it comes to lighting. There was a lot of great uses of lighting in there. One of the problems with this house is it has to be completely full of scare actors. You can't have any of them missing, because then the story just gets weird.
Yeah.
And for example, you have Fire and Ice fighting each other, doing a nice little hand gestures and throwing the sleeves, and it just looks like they're shooting at each other. Fantastic. Went through it with only one there, and it looks like they're fighting a wall. Very weird. Because they don't aim at they don't aim at you. They're aiming at where the other other scare actor should be at. So, we got a couple good runs out of it, but then started getting a lot of bad runs, and we just noticed more and more, just scare actors missing. I don't know if it's just a staffing issue, or maybe we just caught them, at a bad time. It was fun having the two little endings for that. A little bit less. I think we all overhyped that as well. But it was nice to have two different endings and, have your group cheering for whether you killed Merlin or not.
Depending on how
All
you feel about it.
Depending on how you look. Exactly, Tracy. You get me.
We took it as we won every time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Tracy and I coming out like, yeah, we killed Merlin. Let's do it. But yeah, it's again not a bad house overall. I love the fact that they brought back an old property from Islands of Adventure, or from Universal just in general. I really hope this is a sign of the future where they could bring back other properties that they own to life at a horror event. Like, I don't think anybody would ever think of Dueling Dragons off the top of their head being like, yeah, let's make that a house. No, that was just a roller coaster. But they actually vetted out a full story, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm hyping it up right now, but I have it at number 8. But that's what I have. Number 8, Dueling Dragons.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. All right. Number 7. Trace, start us off.
Yes. Number 7. I have The Exorcist.
What? This is where Tracy and I differ.
Wow.
Okay, right. So
Yes,
To preempt,
let's embarrass Tracy a little bit here.
It's not embarrassing. I completely missed the mark first time, and I went. For some reason, it slipped my mind that it was about the new movie. So I'm walking through, going, "This doesn't make any sense. What the hell's going on?"
Says to me, "Why is there two of them?
Why is there two in this room?" And then Lee was like, he reminded me, and I was like, ah. So the next time I went through, it was different, and I appreciated it more because at that point it was my number 10 because it just didn't do it for me. Still didn't really do a lot for me because while it was quite populated, and it was, there wasn't a lot going on.
What?
I didn't think so. Maybe
you had some bad runs.
I must have had some
She
bad
got the
runs.
same runs through it I did. Is all I'll say. You had this at number 2 on your hype list.
It had to go somewhere, and to be honest, with the stuff that I've placed above it, it is where it landed.
Interesting.
With my shuffling around, there were points that I enjoyed, but there were points that I didn't. But I enjoyed it more than the other 3. So,
I mean, that wasn't difficult, to be fair.
Yeah.
Here.
You were with a large group of people. Maybe Lee was like in a different part of the line than you, and you were missing some of the scares.
Perhaps.
We definitely went through it together at one point.
We did.
Because obviously...
Did you? Okay.
The first time when I didn't get it.
Yeah, and I was like, it's the new film, not the old one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Let me jump in real quick. This is also my number 7.
Oh my God!
Thank you, Chris.
What
Thank
is
you.
going
What's
on?
wrong with you guys?
But again, this is a very difficult list because I'm going to give you praise about this house right now, not even take away from it. I enjoyed this house more than I thought I would. I don't think I was very hyped about this house before, just because it was The Exorcist.
Number 8.
Yeah, there you go. So it's pretty close. But honestly, I felt like this house was more of a traditional haunted house rather than a Horror Nights house. And what I mean is, like, it actually felt like a haunted house. There was a lot more scare elements in there. There was a lot of things, at least for me, a lot of things going on. Didn't care too much for the opening scene or the opening, room. But I get it. They're trying to set a story of a movie that no one's seen. I thought the scare actors were great. I thought the 2 girls, whoever played them, I've always saw them do a really good job. I saw them changing the way they scare certain times. The other thing was the smell when you get inside of that room.
Yes. First time I've ever smelled poop in it's the first time I've ever had proper smell in a Horror Nights house, and it stunk.
Just want to point out,
they've used that before. I forgot which house it was, but when I smelled it, I go, "Ooh, we got that good going on here."
I just want to say that room, only once did I get the scare actor step out from behind the door.
Really?
Only once. Yeah.
You had to have gotten a bad run then, yeah. Because I mean, I got fantastic. I got scared. Like, they came out all the time from there. The girl sitting down, like, they all did a really good job. I also love the way, that room, you go in once and then you go into like the second version of it. Like, I thought that was pretty cool. It's nothing like that. I like other things about other houses more, and so that's kind of why it's sitting at number 7. But yeah, it wasn't a bad house. I thought they did a really good job at a house that I didn't have much expecting for it. So,
wow.
Yeah. Let's see. Number 7, Michelle. What do you got at number 7?
I've got The Darkest Deal there. Okay. So again, 7, 8, and 9 were very interchangeable for me. Darkest Deal, the only reason why it landed higher than Stranger Things and Last of Us was because I went through this one on my Behind the Screams tour. So I did know the story a little bit better, and I did know some of the set pieces and things and understand them. So like the zombie looking people, those were people who had already had their souls taken by the collector. I loved the signature thing in the beginning. If you got to see it, I was lucky enough to get to see it almost every time, except for when I went through in October. He wasn't even holding anything, let alone it light up.
Wow.
And I don't know. I assumed it was because of all the rain, but I don't know why that would have anything to do with that. But I don't know. I haven't been a big fan of the storyline since its inception, since its announcement. It moved up my list a little bit because the scares at the end of the house got me every damn time. So once you were past the bar and everything, the one in the piano got me once, which was really good.
That was a
and
good
once
one.
you got past the bar scenes and you were actually like into hell, the one devil collector looking guy that's at the very end of the hallway and he just kind of blends in. You're getting scared from side to side and not thinking about that guy. He almost looks static or like you don't even see him at all sometimes, depending on the lighting. And he got me every dang time. So it had some good scares, but the storyline was not my jam.
You had this at number 10 on your hype list.
Yeah, so it moved up a little bit.
Yeah. Lee, what do you got number 7?
My number 7 is The Last of Us. I was very, very disappointed with this house. Chris, you said the one thing you wanted this house to do was make it feel like you were walking through the video game. And apart from that opening scene, I never felt like at any point I was walking through that section of the game. And I played the game prior to going.
You're an encyclopedia on it, dude. I know.
I even went and played that Pittsburgh section again before I sat down and recorded with Michelle, Kenneth, and Maddie for Rush of Fear. And I'm currently playing it again for Tracy. So I've played that Pittsburgh section 3 times in the last 2 months at this point. And there's a couple of bits I've kind of gone, oh, right, now I see where that is. But for the most part, it doesn't feel like anything from The Last of Us.
Well, you still can't place the bit where it's like the mechanical.
There's like a body on the,
you can't place
like
that at all,
twitching.
can you?
I don't know where the hell that's meant to be. Chris, you and I talked about it with the infected that are on fire. Why are they on fire? There is no point in that section where any on fire. And Tracy pointed out when we watched the walkthrough last night.
Yes, you can hear breaking bottles. So I think the Molotov cocktails are being thrown at him.
But it's a stretch to think. Because one of the buildings is on
I've been
fire.
watching you play.
Tell you why.
Go on.
It's because they bought too many of those red chest plates for the fire in the dragon's house.
Maybe.
And just slap it on these guys.
It just, I think because, again, I understand why they chose the Pittsburgh section, because to have tried to have done the whole game would have been too much. But then that Pittsburgh section, it's actually huge as well.
Yeah.
Like, there's multiple locations, and it kind of went from one to the next one so quickly with no kind of lead in. So you went from that checkpoint in the town to the tunnels, but with no kind of lead into it. It was very strange. And then, like you say, there was hardly any Joels or Ellies in it.
They were all at Hollywood.
I wanted more spores. The spore bit was cool. It wasn't long enough. The bloaters were cool. Again, we said, well, I want that clicker noise to be pervading that house so much through the entire thing, and you just couldn't hear them because the sound of the whole house was just too loud. I mean, I'm obsessed with The Last of Us and have been since the TV show. Well, I wasn't so much when the game came out, and it's only since I played the second one and then TV show came out, and then I've replayed the game sort of 1.5 times at this point that I am completely obsessed with it. So maybe my expectations were way higher than they should have been, because I had this at number 2 on my hype list.
Question, that guy that was on the table at the beginning,
that is Joel.
That second scene. That's Joel, right?
Yes, and it's terrible.
That is what my behind the screams tour guide said.
Someone explained to me where Joel is on a table doing that at any point during that Pittsburgh section.
Is there a part where he thought he was dead or something? And because it says in it, oh, he's alive.
No.
Not in Pittsburgh.
The only bit is
when that's the problem.
The only when he jumps, when they jump off the bridge potentially, but it's they jump off the bridge into the river and then get dragged up on the shore. That's the only bit. Certainly not on a bench.
Maybe. Okay, so maybe that would make sense probably because I don't know why you if he was drowning, why you drag him to a building to like save him. But if I remember correctly, that mannequin had like some kind of mechanics on it where it made it look like he was like choking or like coming up maybe from drowning, but it would make no sense. Like,
but he's on a table.
If that was the water, why would you just save him there?
Yeah, it was very strange. They took some leaps, and it just didn't work overall for me at all.
But that's the weird thing is like you said, there's so much to pull from. Just do that. Don't get creative. You don't need to. We don't want creativity on this. We want the game.
Yeah.
So just pull direct scenes. It's very easy to do that.
Well, and it's a horror house. We want the scary scenes.
Yeah.
There's so much scary in that property. Like, why do this scene where the protagonist is on a table? Like, there's nothing scary about that. Why even build that out?
Yeah, that's true.
I did like the bit with Ellie though, where she's like, "I'll cover you, die, motherfucker!" And I had David Griswold convinced that she said, "Die, motherfucker!" And I'm like, "No, there's no way she would say motherfucker." And he was like, "We went through it at first." It's like, "No, you're right." But they did a good job at kind of making it feel like that's what she was saying. That was probably the best bit in the house, to be honest.
Yeah. The other thing now that just coming back up to this is that some characters, there's this house and there was another house in particular that some were casted pretty well, but man, the Joel's in this one were bad.
Yeah.
And when I say bad, like I'll give some leeway. The first time running through this house, I thought it was like a flashback where Joel was a child because this like 5'2" man comes out in front of me with the worst wig I've ever seen in my life.
The worst wig.
The worst. Like
it was terrible.
He was
like Joel's supposed to be attractive, and this guy looks like he's a Ken doll that you dragged out of the bottom of your drawer.
It looked like Ken hair. Yes.
Like the Ken hair that is actual hair, not the painted on one.
Like
Lego,
like going everywhere. Yeah, like Lego hair.
Yeah, it was. And it's very hard to like. I don't know if especially, and it's not a knock on like being short, but Joel's not short person.
No.
And they're using very short people in this thing. And it was very odd. Like the casting was bad. Now, again, and I know they have a larger pool to pick from in Hollywood.
Yeah.
But God, the Joel's over there and they're fantastic from what I saw online. I just think they could have done a little bit better at, typecasting a role, especially one as much as identifiable as they are too.
But it's difficult, isn't it? You can only cast whoever auditions. That's the problem.
Yes. Yeah.
So maybe they were the best of a bad bunch, maybe.
Maybe they needed the taller ones, the bloaters. Because can you imagine having a short bloater? That just wouldn't have worked.
There was one I saw, but I never saw him again after like one run through.
Yeah.
You absolutely right. It's the teenager.
Yeah, you're right about that, Tracy. It's not just bloaters, but lots of tall people they needed for lots of parts.
Yeah.
They probably couldn't waste them on Joel.
No.
Yeah, well, we'll get to where they wasted them on later.
Wasted them on?
Well, another house that had a similar problem, but we'll get to that later.
Interesting.
All right, Laura, what'd you have at number 7?
Yeah, so at my number 7, I also had The Darkest Deal, like Michelle. And I would say that this is getting into the houses that I really, really enjoyed. Like, I'm not disappointed in this house. It's just there were a lot more that I liked more than this. But I wasn't that excited about The Darkest Deal in the first place. And when we went through, I was like, yeah, this is great. This is cool. I really enjoyed the scene where it was the collector and the guy on stage at the same time, and he actually like gets him then. I loved any scenes where there were two actors interacting with each other in a house. So that part I really liked. But overall, this was my number 7.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's about as much as you can say about it, really, isn't it? Yeah.
Okay. Who has not gone first yet?
Oh, it's your job.
No?
Laura? I don't think Laura has.
Laura?
Yeah.
Let's start us off on number 6.
By the way, Laura had Darkest Deal at number 10 on her hype list.
Yeah, I was very not excited about it. So for number 6, Chris, I have Dueling Dragons at number 6. And I know some people really love this house. I know you love the house, Michelle. But I first of all wasn't very familiar with Dueling Dragons, even though I went to Islands of Adventure long ago. I never rode that roller coaster. I was too scared of it. So I didn't have that, although I was very excited about seeing the Enchanted Oak in there, and that was really cool. But just overall, I felt like I was in like a fantasy movie, like there were like these guys were cool, but they weren't scary. And like you were saying before, like they fight each other. I never felt like they were going to get me. I didn't feel like I was of interest to them at all. So I wasn't like worried actually in that house.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah, like in all the houses, like, it always feels like somebody's going to get you.
And that's the whole point.
And this one I felt like it's very clear that these guys are warring with each other.
Yeah.
And I'm not dressed like them. So
they never went for you. It's only like the like their underlings like kind of trying to get you.
That's a really good point. Interesting.
Now that I remember, that house also had the same problem as some of the other ones where the actors were just straight out in the open. Like that scene where it's the fire, was it the ice room? And there's just two actors. They're just standing in an open room, just waiting for you to walk up to them with no cover. It's very weird. But yeah. Anyways, back to you.
Just one more thing. I really loved this house. I love the story of it, especially going in on the way in. You hear the story being read. And I remembered listening to the story ahead of time, just like the idea that these guys are after Merlin. They're after his book. And, I really got into that idea of what was happening in the house.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. And you already said, Lee, where'd you have this one
at? 7.
So that's
pretty close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tracy, what'd you have at number 6?
At number 6, I had The Last of Us.
That high?
I enjoyed it more than the things that have been mentioned already. I think not having as much knowledge helped as well as hindered, because I got to go through basically blind.
Yeah.
I'd seen Lee. I'd watched Lee play a little, and I'd seen the TV show. So I went through, but also because there was no clear story really, I was also lost at the same time. So I was just going through appreciating things, and appreciating the sets. I quite enjoyed it. Not my favourite house. Wouldn't have been the first one I'd have run to on a night, which is why it's just sitting somewhere in the middle. It's one of those things. Strong year, difficult to place things. I did my usual shuffling of pieces of paper. Did I like this one better than that one? And this is where it landed. I thought it had some good spots. That one bloater was...
Which one? The one where he's pulled the guy's head off?
Oh, was it 2 bloaters?
There's one at the end,
yeah,
and then there's
2.
the one in the side room where there's like a guy knelt down and he pulls his head off.
Oh no, the big one that comes lumbering out after it. I like that because
in front of the house.
Yeah, because it's such an open space. Well, you feel quite safe.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't stepping out of a boo hole. He's actually like there.
Yeah, and he's
in the path.
Yeah, with the proper gate and everything. And I appreciate it more for having watched Lee play the game since.
Because I hate those things in the game.
I can tell you want to hear him playing it. Yeah. And I can see he gets more tense.
Because they're a pain in the ass.
Just know you're going to be there a little while.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you haven't got enough ammo, you're fucked.
Yep.
Like Spain mentioned, the Ellie was great. Hearing the music every now and again was pretty cool. You didn't hear the theme music?
Only at the entrance.
I'm pretty sure I heard it partway through. Maybe I was just singing it in my head. I agree. We needed the clicker noise to be more prominent. A few more of the infected would have been nice. But it's a middle one for me.
This was your number 1 on your hype list.
I know.
We're in that area of the list where things just start getting all mishmashed together.
Oh yes.
Cool. Let's see. Michelle, what is your number 6?
Okay, my number 6 like you said, this is where they all get mishmashed. So what landed at number 6 is Universal Monsters Unmasked.
What?
I knew somebody was going to be upset about it.
No, I'm not the only one.
Don't get me wrong. I love this house,
wrong.
but again, I just loved others better.
Jesus.
It's like you just told Lee off right now. I think you did.
Did you just say she pulled me off?
No, told you off, dude. Unless...
I heard that as well.
Oh, okay.
I did too. Oh my God.
You can take her for this episode, Lee. All right, there you go.
Okay.
No, I love the house. The thing about this house that put it down this low was the whole Phantom section. I did not like that entire section. There were a couple of when we actually saw the Phantom, he was cool, but there was just so much of that section that was nothing but curtains. Literally, we were just walking through curtains and more curtains and more curtains. And then there was curtains with a little chair holding a door closed, and the door was jingling. And then there's more curtains. And then there's an opera seat up to your right with blood all over it. You
missed all the Invisible Man scares, you're saying?
Yeah, it was too big of a section with nothing happening. And then after that, towards the end, I always love the triple scare that happens in the monster houses. Always. Fabulous. Get me every time. I loved the beginning. I loved the rain and the Paris setting, walking into the catacombs, and
Michelle,
there were parts. Yes.
What's the triple scare that always happens in monster houses?
The one at the end.
So at the very end, there's one will jump out at you from the left or, one side, which makes you jump to the other side. And right there, there's another monster right there at you that you just jumped into. And then you try to run away from both of those. And there's a third one right in your face.
That's awesome.
Because last year it was the winner section, wasn't it? It's whoever it was had won had the head of the other one pinned on the wall, and then there was one on the other side. Yeah. Yeah, they did pretty much the same thing this year.
Yep. So I love that part. I just if that whole Phantom section hadn't been so long or so dead, then it would have gotten higher on my list.
Oh my God. You had this at number 4 on your hype list.
Hey, not too far.
Yeah. Number 6, I had Stranger Things.
That high?
That's high.
It is, and I will defend it.
Go on then.
Yeah, everything you guys said, I agree with you. I am not disagreeing with you. And I can even add on top of what I didn't like about the house, especially that last area, right? Where it's just one Vecna and then just a bunch of nothing. I think they used projectors way too much in this house. And I know they had to get a way of filling in these large areas, but it literally just felt like a giant room with a projector and a big screen for a lot of the areas there. The other thing that really just got me, I just couldn't get over it, is they used a lot of short kings in this house as Vecna as well. And so one Vecna came from behind the clothes and puts his hand in front of me, and I had to look down a little bit. And I'm not a super tall guy, but I'm like, this is not scary to me. I need a scary Vecna that looks down on you and puts his hand over you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's supposed to be imposing.
Like in the show.
Yeah.
So that was bothersome. So they could have definitely done a lot of different things to make this house better. I think what brought it up for me so much is I love the franchise. I love Stranger Things. Especially when season 4 came out, I just rewatched everything, and it's even better, right? And I'm also a huge fan of noises and music inside of film and TV. I think audio is extremely important into setting you into a certain mood. And this house had certain areas of that where it instantly transported me back into the show. This house actually made me feel like I'm in the show in certain areas, as opposed to The Last of Us. Even hearing Vecna overarching in that hospital scene, what he's talking from the show, I thought that was awesome. I thought the kill, like you guys mentioned before, between not the kill, but 11 sending Vecna into the other world. I thought that was done so beautifully. If you caught the whole thing, it's awesome.
It was.
That's true.
But not a scare again. It goes to kind of what Laura was saying. It's not a scare though, is it?
No, it's not a scare, but
year.
That's one of those things where I'll take that, right? As opposed to just slapping a robotic Joel on a table that doesn't even look like Joel. Like this, like there's a projector pointing downward to show his chest to look like. I rewatched that scene. I'm like, damn, that's really close to it. Like it's really good.
Yeah.
But you'd have to catch that, right? Like from the beginning to end. And I literally, I was that asshole sometimes. I just stopped and just looked at this thing. Like I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna take this. I just think they did a good job overall on that to bring it up higher. Also, going back to the Eddie thing, like that was just upsetting. Like not having him on the guitar, as you guys mentioned before. It's insane. Like that's one of the biggest scenes in that show. Like they sold his popcorn bucket there. Why would you not have him?
Right.
As playing the guitar in his house.
It was a sipper. It was a sipper cup, by the way.
Was it a sip? Oh, it was.
Sipper cup.
Yeah.
Yeah, like either do the scene right or don't do it at all.
Yeah, I agree with you. But yeah, that aside, they did do some other scenes that I think they did a pretty good job, especially like when Max is going up in the air and you have the earth split. Like I thought that was kind of good. So yeah, just brought it up a little bit higher. So
yeah, that was cool actually. That end section with all like the little world tearing apart was actually pretty cool. I noticed when we did the rewatch last night, I'm like, I don't actually remember walking through that, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah, you were there, right? Where when we came out of it, Alexa, I think it was Alexa having this conversation with me where she was just, I think we were in a group setting and she's like, yeah, it was good, but the ending of that house, like it doesn't have like any resolve. And I'm like, yeah,
it doesn't.
That's how the show ended. And then she's like, oh yeah, that's right. The world's ending. Got it. Okay.
Yeah. You had that at number 3 on your hype list.
Yeah. All right. What do you got, Lee? Number 6.
My number 6, I'm on the same lines as Laura at this point. I had Dueling Dragons. I don't remember a lot about this ride. Certainly not the queue. I actually meant to watch a walkthrough of the queue before we came out and I never got round to it. But it was one of those, yes, it was a gorgeous house. The Enchanted Oak was awesome. The castle was awesome. It was really well detailed throughout the whole thing. And it kind of tweaked that nostalgia thing as a Universal Orlando fan. It was like, yes, this is cool, even though I don't remember it that much. But what ultimately dropped it down to 6 on my list was that ending was so... You either got it or you didn't. And I think the way that could have worked... So the first night we went through was me, Tracy and Michelle. And me being me, they went to the right. And I'm like, I'm going to be contrary. I'm going to the other side. And I walked through nothing. Nothing at all.
Really?
No actor.
No scare actors?
Nothing.
It happened to us too.
So I walk out and I'm like, they're like, way, well, we won, woo. And I'm like, nothing. And the thing is that end isn't a scare. So just have that actor out all the time. There's no need for them to reset.
Yeah, that's true.
Just have them out all the time. It's not a jump scare, so they don't need to. And the problem is, if you're a quick walker, and I didn't walk through it particularly quick, you're going to miss it. So there's no reason for that actor at that point to just be out.
You know what else bothered me about that ending? I don't know if it bothered you guys, is aside from if there was nobody there, it being like that, but I felt like those, either way you went, whether you're winning or losing, it was too quiet.
Yeah.
Like it just, you like, especially right when you get into that room, you have to walk a little bit, dead silence. You're like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And then maybe Merlin pops out or his head, right? But I just thought it was just too silent. It just really kills you just came out of this house and you're still in it, but it just feels like it's over already.
It never felt
I don't know. That kind of creeped me out that it was silent.
I think if you go back to something like Freddy versus Jason at 2015, where dependent on the run through, Freddy won or Jason won. And like, I remember going through that house multiple times where whoever won that, like everyone was cheering and clapping. Well, there was none of that in this house.
That's true.
Yeah, there should have been some music in it, I think, that was like a resolve.
You mean
like
guest
something
cheering,
triumphant or
It didn't really have an ending. It didn't like you should be cheering coming out dependent on the ending, and people weren't.
Well,
Tracy and I were cheering
we
when
were.
we saw Merlin.
Just
Ted.
because you
yeah.
that's all
I
it
did.
is.
True.
You're not
Kill
the
that
average.
bastard.
You're not the average people.
Yeah, that's true.
We wear that badge with honor.
Exactly.
No, I agree with you. Laura, same thing. You got to have something in there to put some trumpets, put some like medieval time trumpets playing.
yeah.
Yeah, it was the ending was very odd.
Yeah.
The rest of it, awesome. Don't get me wrong, really, really good. Not particularly scary, but just as a walk through a piece of Universal history, amazing.
Man, that when you're entering the castle, that slight resemblance of, was it Scary Tales?
I never did it.
Oh, okay. I think it was Scary Tales where you're going through the area that is, what's the girl who throws her hair out the window?
Rapunzel.
Yeah, where they like slaughtered her and used her hair to like web the castle. Like that reminded me of that a little bit. It was kind of cool. But all right, let's we're gonna take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Man, we need a vacation.
Oh, I got this.
Whoa, that's awesome. But I was thinking something a little more adventurous.
Okay, how about this?
Yes!
And how about some relaxation from Mama?
Oh, perfect. How did you do that?
Easy. PortKey Vacations.
For your next vacation, let PortKey Vacations take away all the guesswork and stress of planning. From air and hotel to theme park tickets and everything else in between, they've got you covered. Just visit PortKeyVacations.com and touch the PortKey to get started with your free, no-obligation quote request. With just one touch, and PortKey Vacations will magically take you wherever you want to go.
All right, welcome back. So to start us off, number 5, Laura, over to you.
So for my number 5, I had Dr. Oddfellow's Twisted Origins. This was the very first Horror Nights house I ever did. We did it late that night, that first night with you, Chris and Alexa.
Yeah.
I was terrified. I was also really tired because it was after like 1 a.m., but I was really scared, and I don't even remember a lot of the details of this house, honestly. I just remember that I really liked it. It was very scary. And I was so jazzed to learn more about or see Dr. Oddfellow, in any of his story, because I felt like I'm way behind the times, like 20 years late in knowing about Dr. Oddfellow. So
30 years late.
So I was excited to go to this house, and I really enjoyed it.
Okay.
Nice. Yeah. Okay, let's see. Michelle, number 5.
All right. I also have Dr. Oddfellow's Twisted Origins.
Whoa.
Again, a product of just where it landed. I loved this house. I can't really say anything bad about it. I love the lore. I loved how claustrophobic it was. I loved all of the little hints about Jack. I loved going through this house with the lights on through the Behind the Screams tour. Very cool how much thought and detail went into this house. My probably favorite, there's a lot of favorite scenes in this one, but probably my favorite scene was where the lion jumps out at you. So cool.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, me too.
It got me the first time, but after it got me, I knew that it was going to get other people. So I always enjoyed like hanging back and watching people that were with me getting it. That was good.
Yeah, and that puppeteer that was manning that lion, they took some risks at times because that thing came out of that hole.
It got close to you, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was the ending of the house kind of got a little convoluted to me. I mean, I know the storyline, but if you didn't know the storyline from doing a tour or listening to all of the information that was given in the Discover Universal podcasts, I could see where all of that would have gotten lost on people. So I think they kind of probably could have done without ending and just kept it in the freak show circus theme. But yeah, it was a great house.
You had this so Laura had Dr. Oddfellow at number 3, and Michelle had it at number 6.
Not too far off. Okay.
All right. Lee, what'd you have at number 5?
Well, originally I had something else, and the more I've thought about that one, I've realised that it should be higher up on my list. So I also have Dr. Oddfellow at number 5. For a lot of the same reasons that Michelle said, to be fair. I actually got my one big scare in this house, and it was my own fault, as usual. The scare with the guy getting his head cut off, so there's like the clown body and the guy cut. So I was hamming it up as usual, like clapping, hey! Not expecting him to come flying out. I myself.
That's great.
I wish I'd seen that.
It was such a good scare, and I was quite pleased with myself.
That is good.
Yeah, because I let my guard down, so I wasn't really paying attention. And I had this quite low down on my list. I think I had it at number 6, so not too far off. The lion section was cool. There was like a double whammy there as well, because I think the lion came out, and then was that the Minotaur came out of the corner? Yeah, that was super cool.
But it's 2-2.
Honestly, this is high up my list as well from an experience, and I'm going to call her out. Going through Kelly Wood, her first Halloween Horror Night house ever. She came in straight off the, literally, airport, checked in a hotel, came straight into Universal, came straight to the back of the park, and we went straight into Dr. Oddfellow. She was crying coming out of that house, bless her. If you go back and listen to our live episode from the parks, I put the clip of her reaction coming out. She sounds utterly terrified, and I was trying to... I was being a complete as well, because I was trying to slow down, because she was behind me. So I was slowing down, and she was don't slow down. She was shoving me in the back.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, really good house. But again, it's fallen this low because the 4 above it, I just think are better houses. This wasn't a bad one, but there's 4 better.
Yep.
Okay. All right. I'll jump in here. Number 5. And again, we're at the top 5 now, which, again, a lot of interchangeability here. But number 5, I have Monsters Unmasked. I thought this house was amazing. The intro walking in scene with the rain and just that feel and the guard, it was just, you did not feel like you were in Orlando anymore. You were completely transported elsewhere. The use of space there, I thought they did a pretty good job. Yeah, I mean, it's there's a lot of great things to say about this. There's not really a lot of negative I can come up with.
Okay, then so why is it at number 5?
It's, well, because I enjoyed things of other houses more. So that's the only thing. If I could put 3 or 4 at number 1, I would. So unfortunately, I can't, and I have to kind of make this decision. But I have Monsters there. You know, maybe there were some areas that felt a little dead. The Invisible Man, you know, I think he was more of a fun character type of thing. Yeah, again, not to take away from it, you got to put the monsters in there, but yeah,
they did have an Invisible Man, Chris. He was, wrapped up in gauze, just like he's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yes, he was naked a few times in there too. I don't know if you guys caught him, but
no, that was just you.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
I would have happily caught him if I could find him.
Yeah, and even that scene, I forgot. One of the scenes I really liked was when you're like outside and the lady with the baby carriage.
Yes. No, her dead horse on the floor. Yeah.
My baby.
Yeah.
Yes, my baby, the dead horse on the floor, which we found out was like a nod to, the makers of the house, right, where they put it into houses because it's like beating a dead horse.
Yeah,
because they hate doing the same thing over and over. I think that's hilarious.
Because there was one in the facade to Nightingales at 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's number 5.
Okay, you had this at number 9.
Yeah, there you go.
So that's quite a jump. Not as big a jump as another one on your list, but we'll get there, I'm sure.
Yep, we will. All right, Tracy.
Nope,
What do
I'm
you got
not
at number
ready.
5? No? Okay, perfect.
I am currently having some sort of like internal dilemma because
Come on, we haven't got all night.
Pull the Band-Aid off, Tracy. Just pull it off.
I can't. I'm trying to decide which way round 2 should go.
I promise you, whatever you pick, you're still going to be mad.
I am going to actually change that.
Talking to your microphone.
I am actually going to change that. So, yeah, I'm going with Dr. Oddfellow. I can't really add much to it. I really enjoyed this house. For me, it was very reminiscent of Killer Clowns. It had that same sort of feel and flow. Some really cool little pieces, some great characters. And I loved like the mix and match style of it. And if you stopped and looked around, every time you could find something new when you went through.
That's true. Yep.
It's very, very heavily stacked with set pieces.
Oh yeah,
I loved it. And there was little things like there was Jack's cane in there and things like that.
Course.
And it's just a casualty of where something needs to be in the list.
I wish Jack had been in it more. I wish we could have actually got to see a Jack.
Yeah, but maybe that's coming in the future. Who knows?
Yeah.
We could have a Jack Oddfellow standoff one year.
That would be cool.
Ooh.
He needs his revenge.
Yeah,
remember?
Jack versus Oddfellow. That's what we need.
That'd be 35. So yeah, number 5.
Okay.
Where did I have that?
8.
8. Okay.
Okay, number 4. Let's go over Lee. Go ahead. Give us
Number 4. So as I said, Dr. Oddfellow was originally my number 4, and I changed this last week because something got under my skin a little bit more. And I was like, no, I think I enjoyed that much more. And it was one of the dark horses of this year because I had it originally at number 9 on my hype list, and it's now my number 4, and that was The Exorcist Believer. From my first walk through this house, I had no expectations for it because obviously we haven't seen the film, and I'm not a huge fan of the original, but it's the exact opposite of what Chris said. That opening scene in the town I thought was a great scene. Said it kind of reminded me of Chupacabra from last year, and then it just got better and better. The scene with the girl sort of hanging from the ceiling by her vomit, and the other one in the chair was cool because you got to walk around it. Yeah. But then the glowing under the floorboards was so cool.
Yes, I did like that.
Was so cool. The poop smell's the first time I've ever smelled that smell in a Halloween Horror Nights house. Everyone talks about the smells in the houses. I've never smelled anything in a house before. First one this year ever. And this was the first house I noticed this year where I noticed. This was the first one I noticed him, but there was a few houses where some of the actors had an A and a B scare. And I think, Chris, you and I pointed it out. I think Monsters happened. I think it was The Hunchback, where there was one where he just kind of leant out and kind of stared at us and then went back in and then had like a proper jump scare. It was the same in this, the girl behind the door. There was one point where we went through and she just kind of leant out creepily behind the door.
Yeah.
And then went back in. But then another time, he did like a proper jump scare from behind the door.
That one. Yeah.
Well, the same thing with the girl sitting on the chair too. Like she would change up her stairs.
I had no interest in watching the film. We still haven't seen it, but this made me want to see that movie. It did such a good job of what it was a living trailer for that film. It did such a good job because, again, I had no interest in it whatsoever. And that first run through, I'm like, that was really good. And then the more I went on that. Through it, I was like, that is a really solid house. Yeah, loved it, honestly.
I definitely missed out on some things in there.
Yeah, you did.
Well, you still got a few more days to come back out.
Yeah, that's true. I did say to Lee on Friday, we could have been travelling there for the weekend now.
Yesterday when we were watching them.
That was reminded you again. We could have been there this weekend.
Man, that's commitment. I wanted to jump in and go next because I also have The Exorcist at number 4. And now we're in the top 4. Like I am in houses now that I was very excited about, like that I absolutely loved. And this one is one of them for sure. I loved the beginning scene. Like, I thought it was a great setup being in that market, and it was just so like not scary. I felt like it was just like a setup, like getting you ready, getting you like the scene set for you. I just felt like all of the girls were terrifying. I loved how, just like you said, that sometimes the guys were too small, Chris. The fact that these girls were small was really cool. Like that you really could believe that they were kids. I've always felt that, like I told you guys before, like I didn't even want to do this house. I was so scared, and The Exorcist scares the crap out of me. So I absolutely loved this. This is one of those houses that like 3/4 of the way through it, I just wanted to transport out of there. I was so like overwhelmed with scared. I was like, I am done, but I have to keep going because I got to get through here. I loved it.
Lee, what did she have this one on her hype list?
Number 8.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because I was too scared of it.
Yeah, well, when we talked to you, like you messaged us. I remember you messaged us the weekend you watched that trailer and went, "There's no way I'm going through that house." And we were like, "There is, but whatever."
Yeah, I saw it in the movie theater, and I could not. I had to close my eyes and put my fingers in my ears. I did not even want to see or hear that trailer. I was so scared. But Universal did a great job because all 4 of us went to see that movie together. Like we literally went to see a 30-year-old franchise movie again. So I guess it's been 40 years now.
I'm glad you said that you saw that because I've seen it too. And the setup in the house, like when you first walk in, where is that in the movie? There's nothing like that in the movie.
I guess it's supposed to be Haiti where they are at the beginning of the movie, which even in the movie, it doesn't even make any sense. Like there's nothing that really plays back to that them being there, except for maybe that she got a special blessing for her unborn child at that time. But other than that, like it didn't really make a lot of sense.
No, it didn't. That was my only question about that.
Well, Michelle, what do you have at number 4?
Number 4 is Dueling Dragons.
Wow, I expected you to have that at number 1, if I'm honest.
Well, it was a number 1 on my hype list, but it got knocked down, surprisingly. So, and for the same reasons that you guys had it down low on your list, that it really wasn't scary, like at all. And if you didn't have the full actors in there and you didn't hit the spots, then it wasn't a good house. So like it was one of those experiences where you had to like have all of everything lined up perfectly for it to be like a really good experience. That being said, just about every run through that I had on that house was awesome. Even though it wasn't scary, I still liked that it was a little different. It was I was walking through a storyline, and instead of being part of the storyline, I was watching it play out, which is kind of different for me because being someone who still very easily gets jump scared, I was able to walk through that house and not worry at all, but still enjoy it. It wasn't like I walked through it like Chucky and wasn't worried at all. And I was like, oh, that sucked. That was a waste of my time. This was like still watching a movie. Like I was really into it and enjoying it.
Yeah.
I loved
enjoying the scenery.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I loved all of like the light up set pieces and everything and how they integrated that. So cool. I loved how the warlocks got progressively, like their costumes changed throughout the house as they turned into dragons. That was very cool. And I loved the split ending. I was able to get all 4 endings. And I love that I was able to, most of the time, well, I shouldn't say most of the time, probably half the time, when I walked through whichever ending I chose, I was the only one in that section. Like I went through it all by myself, which I felt like such a big girl that I was able to do that. But I loved it. I thought it was awesome.
Okay. I expected you to have it much higher, I'll be honest. But
it just wasn't scary, which I think it could have been a little bit more scary. There might have been a way for them to pull us into the storyline somehow. Like Laura said, we were not an active participant in the story. So if they had figured out a way to pull us in and made us be fearful in some way would have kept it up in that spot. But there were just 3 others that just knocked it down.
Okay. Tracy.
Yes.
I'm glad you picked her next.
Why is that?
Because I'm not sure what she's got, but I kind of made a guess, and she doesn't know what her number 4 is either.
Again, I'm flip-flopping between 2. Because what I am going to go with, I'm not happy about. So it's Dueling Dragons.
Yeah.
Okay.
For the longest time, this was my number 1.
What?
For the longest time.
Really?
Right through the event, yeah.
That surprises me because I don't think we ever had a conversation that you liked it that much.
I love this. It's the nostalgia and the whole set and the story going through, and it's just so visual. I absolutely adore this. It's just the ending that's knocked it down. But yeah, I got all of the endings. We did learn to loiter at the ending, and then you get your ending.
And that's the issue. It's the only way you really get it.
But I just love how you're just in the middle of this battle, and it's not a scary house. There's no threat to the person walking through. It's just you are in the middle of something, this skirmish. And I absolutely loved like the lit breastplates and the use of the lighting in the walls and the dry ice and all of that. I loved this.
Yeah, you can see the future of Halloween Horror Nights houses in that house.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And at times it was quite a dark house as well.
Yeah.
You know, and there was some spectacular sets as well. I mean, the Enchanted Oak.
Yes.
I mean, I nearly died on the spot when I saw that because
it was cool.
I was just, I got teary-eyed walking through there.
I mean, no one's even mentioned the 2 massive dragons outside the castle at this point.
I haven't even got to anywhere. Thank you very much. When it's your turn, you can talk.
They were so static.
It would have been better if both of the dragon heads had been working.
I think they were, but it was only ever one at a time.
Yeah. I loved the fact that you just you go over a drawbridge and there's a massive castle just in the middle. Mm-hmm. I love that. I think they definitely picked the right soundstage for it because you had that whole black curtained walk in that was telling you the story.
Yeah, see, I hate that. House for that entryway. Like, yes, it gives you the perfect reveal for the facade, but I hate that bit.
No, but what that's doing is it's not giving you anything. It's depriving you of senses. So when you turn around that corner, that reveal is even more impactful. That's what it's doing.
That's a good point.
What was there last year? Because I don't remember walking down that corridor last year.
Because I remember
it's either Chupacabra or Dead Man's Pier, but I don't remember walking.
It was Dead Man's Pier. Pretty sure.
I don't remember walking down that curtain corridor.
No,
I think it was Chupacabra because when you turn the corner, you'd see the city. And
it was Chupacabra.
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember walking down that corridor.
Because what was the one that I always forget was a few years ago? Where it snowed and had all the willows.
Body Collector's Recollections.
That silver birch outside. Yeah, that. And for me, it was that same sort of breathtaking reveal when you came round.
That was in the same place.
That's what I'm saying. I know it was because you walked. Yeah. I wanted
That's a really good observation, Tracy. I never even thought about those curtains being something to heighten the experience rather
by
than
taking away stuff. Yeah,
because you think about it, fabric muffles noise.
Yeah,
it's black, so visually you've got nothing, and it's narrow, so you're not walking in a group talking. You're a single file.
So what you're saying is that Universal Studios Hollywood's black corridors for all these years are very clever, not just because we can't be asked.
Yeah.
No, because they use it in between rooms, which is terrible.
Yes.
I know.
But in that iteration, it works well. But yeah, I'm quite upset because I wanted this to be higher because I love Dueling Dragons and I love all this sort of folklore as well. So for me, this hit all the marks.
It was number 5 on your hype list.
Just sadly It was like 3 marks less than I wanted it to be. So number 5, was it?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Number 4, I have Yeti.
Okay.
I love this house. I thought it was, I had a okay run the first time, I think, and then it just got better and better. The fact that, they brought the Yeti back in a different variation, but they brought him back, which is awesome. Obviously, most of this house is campy fun kind of thing rather than, horror and terror. But the fact that they make what you would assume is the villain become the hero. I love that.
Yes. Yep.
I love that so much. Like, you're rooting for the Yeti to kill Billy. And it's
little.
Yeah.
Billy's a little.
Yeah.
Yes.
And this one this one's also important to have your scare actors in there, because we did do a couple run throughs where if you don't have the Yeti there, it's kind of weird seeing Billy pull himself into the bushes.
Yes, we saw that. Yeah,
that sounds dirty.
That was kind of odd, and it sucked because I went with my family and I was hyping this house up, and we did a bad run through, so there's a bunch of actors missing, and so the whole time like, no, there's supposed to be a Yeti right there killing him. Like, that's not how he dies. And oh no, over here someone's supposed to come out and get you.
That's the soundbite from this episode, by the way. It seems strange watching Billy pull himself into the bushes.
I mean, whichever way you want to take it.
That's what she said.
Apparently.
I'll leave it there.
That's what he said.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was. We just had fantastic run throughs to this house, and there was a lot of, I think there was improv happening in this house as well, because I forgot the exact thing. Well, it was when there's the lake and there's like a Yeti there.
Yep.
And there was a Yeti that was messing around with us, where he was just looking at us. He didn't even try to scare us. And then the other one just called us over. It was odd and hilarious at the same time. And you have obviously HHN Bear that's in there.
Yes.
Who fantastic. And especially like one of the times he was, I don't know if he was supposed to be doing this, but because he has a boo hole that he goes into and then comes out and scares you. But there was times that I would see him just standing there pretending to be like a mannequin.
Yep.
And people just would be none the wiser. And then he would just come at you and lunge at you. Fantastic. And I don't know if that's part of it, but I think they killed it there. Yeah, I think that's everything. I love the Yetis, and based off of how this one went and kind of what we've heard, we'll probably be seeing more Yetis in the future.
Yeah, we'll talk about it more.
Yeah, I'm sure we will. All right, let's see.
Hang on, you had that on your hype list at number 5.
Number 5. Okay, pretty close. All right, let's getting down to number 3. Let's see. Tracy, start us off on this one.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk about it now then. Yeti.
Yeah, I had a feeling. I think I know what your number 3, your 3, 2, 1 is.
Oh, okay. Glad you do, because I'm flip-flopped on 2 and 1 at the moment. So, yeah, I mean, Yeti wasn't as good as the first time round. But I think that was a tough one to beat anyway. But I still really enjoyed it. Some great pieces. I actually really enjoyed the baby getting its head ripped off. But, parenthood was tough for me. Hearing
some justice, that's all you saw.
Yeah, exactly. I was completely,
to be fair, it was
completely on the side of the Yetis, because that little...
You can swear, it's fine.
Deserved all he got and more. That poor baby Yeti. Yeah, I thought there was some good distraction pieces. The body in the lake. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Because Lee got a jump there. He may deny it, but he got a jump with the guy in the shack. And I witnessed that.
What the hell are those things?
Yeah. But I thoroughly enjoyed this one. There was some really, really good moments. I thought the snake in the toilet was hilarious for some weird reason.
Yeah.
It's funny. It was funny.
Yeah. But then that distracted you from the Yeti that came out the elastic window,
Which is so
I
cool.
love that.
Yeah.
Finding out that the arm that came down was an actual guy and not an animatronic was quite surprising because his arm must have hurt by the end of that run.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I want that job. That would have been fun.
I'm not
We
built
were
to
talking to
lift
one guy
on
off.
my
Yeah, you
stomach.
said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had to put like a pillow and a contraption there to help him out.
Yeah,
Because he was bruised to hell.
it would have been. But I thought this was an absolute romp, and I really, really enjoyed it. So yeah.
You had this at number 3. So where you got it.
There you go.
Oh, okay.
So I think that's the first one.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Michelle.
All right. I've also got Yeti.
Interesting.
Yep. Lee, where did I have this on my hype list?
You had this on your hype list at number 8.
Yeah. So I knew this one moved up a lot. I originally was not a big fan of the campiness of it, that like what it sounded like it was going to be. But like Chris said, the more and more I went through it, the more I loved it. The scares got me, but they were fun scares. They were hilarious. The storyline was fabulous. I loved hanging back and watching Billy get taken. That was super cool. This was that house of the year where I just smiled going through it, and it just made me so happy at the end. It was just fun. The Yetis were huge, and I loved seeing people get scared in front of me. It was a pleasureful house. And then of course that one instance that we had in there, Chris, on our RIP tour, where I started at the beginning of the line and I was pointing out the hidden frog. Mm-hmm. And by the time it got back to Chris, the Yeti, like I was pointing out the frog, and it was right across from the lake. And so we were totally ignoring the Yeti himself, who was trying to scare us, because we were looking the opposite direction. So by the time it got back to Chris, the Yeti just had given up. And so he just pointed out the frog to Chris.
Nice. Brilliant.
That's hilarious.
That was it. Yeah.
That's
I have
funny.
to go back to Michelle enjoying Billy getting taken, because apparently that Yeti had a very specific set of skills.
Funny.
That
was good for you.
It was a good house. It was fun.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like it. I don't call it campy, because
to
me campy is like really cheesy.
Yeah.
It wasn't cheesy to me.
No.
I liked it.
I agree.
I feel like it's something you would see like on a cheap horror film. That's kind of where the campiness I feel comes from.
I would watch that horror film.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah,
Me
just
too,
good old-fashioned scares of big, tall, scary things with teeth coming at you.
Proper
There
B
you
movie
go.
And then
stuff.
silly things like the snake coming out of the toilet. Like,
Yeah.
that's got to be
It's
campy
gotta
there.
look
You're just
like that in the movie too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. It moved up a lot, deservedly.
Okay. Let's see. Laura, what you got number 3?
So I'm glad you guys liked Yeti so much, but I have to say that you have it in the wrong place, because my number 3 is Blood Moon Dark Offerings. Another house that I was very excited about. I think I said in the podcast before, I was excited just to see piles of bodies, and I feel like this one delivered, especially at the end. And kind of like the Exorcist house, this one was so scary. Like, I was terrified the whole time. Like the scene where you go through like the church and you don't know who's real, who's going to stand up and scare you, and who's not. Loved that. Like, I just loved everything about this house. And I'm also excited that I haven't heard any of you guys mention it yet. So I know that you guys all value it pretty highly too. So I can't wait to hear what you have to say about Blood Moon as well.
La, 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 la.
We're at the part where none of us can like further the conversation.
Nobody even responded to her.
I'm not saying a
No.
thing.
I'm just frantically checking.
Yeah,
my
I'm
list
sure
and
you
going,
guys
"Wait,
have
I
a lot
haven't
to say
mentioned
about it. I
yet."
can't wait to hear it.
Yes, it was very good.
Your beliefs are well placed, Laura.
Interesting.
Okay, let's see. Number 3 here. I will go next. All right, number 3, I have Dr. Oddfellows.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's high up.
it is pretty high. And it's weird looking at it, especially after like this conversation we've been having. But really enjoyed that house. If you told me every single time to go through it, I would. You want to go again? Sure. That house had a lot of stuff in it. Like you guys had mentioned earlier, you could go in there and see something new every single time. A lot of actors in there as well. It did have, like Tracy had mentioned as well, that almost that Killer Clowns feel to it, which it was just such a nice feeling to have that again, even if it wasn't Killer Clowns. Really good kills in there, or scares, right? The head was nice. I also really
That's
enjoyed
what she said. Oh my God, I couldn't resist that one.
Yeah. I'm getting rusty. I'm getting rusty.
I don't know what else he meant, to be fair.
Right.
Well, the head was good in there.
No, I'm talking about the guy that gets his head cut off.
All right, that's not what you said, Chris.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
I didn't know there was room for that with Alexa.
Did Alexa like this one as much as you did?
She
just leave it alone.
All right, let's go. Let's save this for the other episode. I just thought they did a fantastic job with how they try to get scares out of you, and I even really enjoyed that room where they're throwing the knives and you have like that air pressure hitting you. It's almost like when you're a kid, and like to try to make you feel like you're getting hit with something, they like blow some air on you, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just thought overall they did a fantastic job on that house, and like I said, I love those kind of clowny, cheesy scare things. So yeah, Oddfellow 3.
Okay. You had this at number 2 on your hype list.
Okay. Getting there. All right, number 2.
Can I not go for my number 3, please?
Yeah, number 2 is next, is what I meant to say. Finish off number 3.
Save.
This was actually
thinking about the head.
This was actually number 1 on my hype list. And after my first run through, I was like, It was a bit, And then on subsequent runs, it got much, much better. And that is Yeti Campground Kills. So my first run through, I came out and I was like, yeah, it just felt exactly the same as the last one without the snow.
Yeah, I remember you saying that. Yep.
Uh-huh.
And I was so disappointed. And then once I got that first run out of the way and subsequent runs, I got to see it for what it actually was, not what I wanted it to be. It was awesome. I loved it's only number 3 because the 2 houses above it are that good, quite honestly. Because I think any other year, this probably would have been my number 1 without fail. This was the soundbite house for me this year, as I've already said. What the hell are those things? And then me and Gillian,
the most important one.
Yeah, me and Gillian. I don't even know where it came from because we watched the run through again last night, and she doesn't even say it like that.
I was ready to bang your heads together.
But his mother comes out and shouts, "Has anyone seen my Billy? Billy, where are you?" But we just took it on our own and ended up doing a whole Shaggy Scooby-Doo thing. So every time we went through that house, at that point, the pair of us would just shout, "Billy, where are you?" all the time. And that was like mine and Gillian's soundbite through the whole of Horror Nights. The Yetis were awesome. That jump scare with the lake, I got Gillian with it because I actually distracted her. She got that there. I know HHN Bear scared the out of Kelly in her run through it.
Yeah.
The Ranger Tower was awesome. It was just fantastic from start to finish, quite honestly. Again, everything a Halloween Horror Nights house should be. Just unfortunately, it came at a year where there are 2 houses that are so much better.
Such a strong year.
Yeah.
It was. It really was.
Cool. Now we will be moving to number 2. And to lead us off on that, Michelle, please give us number 2.
Okay.
That also came out bad.
Yeah, I know it did.
Give us number 2, Michelle.
Yeah.
That was last week, Chris. That was last week.
Okay.
Okay, number 2, which will also tell you my number 1. once I say this. My number 2 is Blood Moon Dark Offerings.
Okay.
Again, totally interchangeable at this point. I loved Blood Moon Dark Offerings, and I know I had this one really low on my list too, my hype list.
You had it at number 9.
Number what?
9.
Yeah, that's a big jump.
Mm-hmm.
I was not digging the whole like villager vibe, but this house was so freaking cool. This was the gore house of the year. This was the beautiful house of the year as well. And that they were able to combine those two items is brilliant, because last year Dead Man's Pier was beautiful, but it wasn't gory. And some might say it wasn't even scary, but it was beautiful. This one was beautiful and gory. I loved that you could see the moon from pretty much any room in the house.
Yeah.
That was brilliant, the way that they did that. I loved that they really made you feel like you were moving through the village, like in and out of buildings. Sometimes you were, and you really felt it. Like you really feel, okay, I'm indoors right now. Okay, now I'm outside. When technically we were inside the whole time, right? But they did such a brilliant job of differentiating indoors versus outdoors. I loved the little girls playing with the intestines. That was on the pole. So cool.
Do you know what the name of that is? Because I was trying to look it up.
What, a maypole?
Like,
yeah.
A maypole. Yeah.
A maypole?
Yeah.
It's a
maypole.
A may.
It's one of
M-A-Y?
M-A-Y-P-O-L-E.
I don't know where it fits into their law, but it's one of our traditions. It's one of our pagan traditions.
Yeah, on May Day, which I think is the 1st of May.
Yes.
It's one of those traditional things that they would say kids used to do. I don't know that anyone ever actually did it.
The village next to us still does it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was just a really good house. Very full of actors. Like packed.
Yes.
Full of actors. Like it was almost like they stole the actors from Stranger Things and put them all in this house, because it was packed full of actors. There was this one really cool scene where you thought that this girl was really far away and you're looking at her like down this alleyway, and then you turn the corner and she's like right in front of you, and it scares the bejesus out of you.
I don't remember that.
Oh, really? Oh, it was so good. Like I don't know if people were able to get it all the time. I might have just been lucky, but she was down this like alleyway and she's just standing there like staring. And I was like, what the heck
Isn't
is
that
like
outside where the maypole is, or no?
Yeah. Okay. But she's like between two buildings down far away from you.
She was not there often, just so you know. I barely ever saw her there.
Oh, so I got lucky then. But yeah, and then you turn the corner and she's like jumping out at you. It was so good.
Okay.
I loved this house. It was great.
Okay. All right. So number 2, I will jump in here. I have to defend this a little bit because it did not get much love from you guys.
I know what you've got.
I have Darkest Deal at number 2.
Ooh.
Wow.
And yeah, I know. And here's the thing. What were you going to say, Laura?
Our friend Kevin will be excited about that.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. I looked at my list multiple times. I saw this sitting there. I saw the other things around it. And I'm like, this is difficult, but I'm sticking to this. And that's just because this was one of my favorite houses to go through over and over again. I think I had probably what one would consider a perfect run through the house, like completely perfect. It could not have been any better. I loved is he called the Collector? Like what's the Collector? Okay. Yeah. Loved that character. Loved the actors they used for it. The makeup, the way they did it. I remember going through it. I got his whole speech thing. And what was nice is like, we were just at the right spot where he just got up right in my face, was talking straight to me. It was super cool. I also thoroughly enjoyed how they did his voice. I don't know if it's just an odd thing for me, but like it was a very heavy, bassy voice that you could feel, not just hear. I thought that was amazing. Just going through, it really takes you. They did a really good job at putting you in a small, confined area, but still kind of feeling you're elsewhere, not just inside of a house. the musical aspect to it, nothing, mind blowing. But like you guys mentioned before, like when the collector would come and he's playing on stage and just kind of takes his soul. I saw one of the times when they were doing a cash change and they even themed that out where the collector goes behind the curtain and they make it seem like he's calling the guy playing the guitar. I forgot his name off the top of my head.
Pine Straw Spruce.
Pine Straw Spruce.
Pine Straw, yeah. They made it seem like the devil was, or the collector was calling him through the curtains when it's really just to do a cash change. I thought that was super cool and themed out to not just have them walk off. But yeah, overall, I think they did a fantastic job with this house. It just clicked with me, and that's why it's at number 2, and that's what I'm sticking to.
I love that you loved this house, Chris.
I don't.
It was
Wow.
good. And then, like, even God, just thinking about it.
You're talking about having a perfect run through. That's got to be a big player. And anytime you get the special, like it just everything clicked, everything was right. You were in the right frame of mind.
Yeah.
That just makes something so great.
Yeah, like even hearing you guys talk about the lighting on it earlier, I was like, yeah, that could kind of mess things up. But imagine if you had that full thing and the collector is looking into your eyes with this evil smile. It was so good. It was so good.
Yeah.
If you say so.
All right. Shut up.
You tell him.
You had that
right,
at number, I've just looked it up, number 6 on your hype list.
Oh, okay. Cool. All right. Let's see. Tracy.
Hello.
I know what her number 2 is.
Do you?
I think so.
Go on then.
No.
Oh. You know, but you're not prepared to bet on it.
Well, what's the point? Because then you don't get to reveal it if I'm right.
Oh, I know. I was going backwards and forwards, but I'm
That's what
sticking
she
with
said.
my original one, so I actually know. I want to know. And I want you to say what you
see it, man.
I know. I want you to say what you think it is.
Blood Moon.
No.
Off. That is not your original one. You're fully. You're just being contrary now because I know.
Okay, fine.
Say Chucky. Say Chucky.
Yeah. Fine. Blood Moon.
I know it's Blood Moon.
I have gone backwards and forwards because I have issues. Yeah, I don't think I can really add anything to what's been said, but this is a stunning house. The floor was just amazing. Like I said, the fact you could see through the buildings and you were constantly part of that narrative was just, it was mind-blowing. It was like they took Chupacabra and just amped it up 10 levels. If Chupacabra had been like that, I would have been absolutely blown away. Yeah, loved all the gore and yeah, just really, really loved it. Just number 1 pipped it.
You had this at number 9.
Yeah, I gathered. Kind of worked that one out. So yeah, can't really say any more because it's all been said.
Okay.
Yeah.
Big underdog there coming from number 9.
Yeah.
You can
all
talk.
Right, let's see, Lee.
My number 2, and I'll be honest, I wavered a little bit at one point during the event, not even when we came back. Yeah, Blood Moon. It was amazing, and Tracy beat me to it. She took away exactly what I was going to say. It felt like they looked at what they did with that whole town setting of Chupacabra last year and went, how can we do this but take it to the next level? And the use of space for that house was amazing. And I didn't get it that first walkthrough. It was actually you and Gillian pointed out bits, and I'm like, holy like you see that bell tower, it was like the woman on the bow of the ship last year where you saw from multiple locations. It was the same with that guy in the bell tower this time, that you saw him from multiple places around before you actually got to the bell tower. And I had zero interest in this house. Even listening to the official podcast, I was like, it just sounds crap. And I had this at number 10 on my hype list. Like, I just wasn't interested in people killing people. Like, who cares? But it was phenomenal. It was so good. And again, I wavered. It overtook my number 1 for just a brief moment. But I want to talk about what Chris talked about before of getting that perfect run through. That's what I got through my number one. So I'm going to leave it there right now.
Okay. Laura, number 2.
My number 2 is Universal Monsters. This house was incredible. Brian and I both just fell in love with it from the very beginning. Like you said before, Chris, with the rain and the guy yelling at it, just takes you completely to a different place. And then you go into these tunnels. And even though they were the basic C tier of Universal Monsters, they were not the top guys, but they were still really fun to watch. I had no idea that there would ever be somebody that might fall down on us. So when we went into the Hunchback of Notre Dame room, I raised my arms like cheering for this guy, like, yay, he's up on a thing. And then he just literally fell right at my face. I mean, it just couldn't get any better. I mean, that was a perfect run through moment for me. Awesome. Like I was excited and he fell at me. I just loved it. I love that house.
A lot of people don't get that scare. Like you.
Yeah, I was lucky.
Honestly lucky to get that as well as you did.
Yeah, maybe because I was just so hyped about it and he could see I was hyped. He's like, I'm falling now. But and like Michelle mentioned the curtains there, that the Phantom part does have a lot of curtains, but like I said on our podcast, those if you ever spend any time backstage anywhere, those curtains can be very intimidating and scary, and if you get stuck in them, it's very unsettling. So I really enjoyed even the curtains.
All right.
Okay.
All
righty. We are down to number 1.
Already.
Yeah. That was super fast. It's only been what?
2
weeks.
Oh, that. Yeah, 2 weeks. All right. I'm going to kick us off on number 1. Blood Moon. Just Blood Moon. That's it.
Yeah.
Blood Moon was amazing. You guys have obviously you liked it because it's at number 2 for you guys. I thought it was I thought it was a fantastic house. I don't think this was very high on my hype list.
Number 10, Christopher.
Number 10, yeah. So it's
oh my gosh,
the opposite. I had zero expectations of this house, and that does not mean like that's not the reason why I love it so much. Just everything about this house. You guys mentioned like the moon. I love how the whole place felt, and obviously it's on purpose, but the whole place felt like there was like a filter, like the movie Dune, where you just have this overarching like red color everywhere.
Yeah.
Even inside the rooms, right? Like obviously they put these lights strategically, but it just had that filter effect throughout the entire house. It was fantastic. Even I love going into that room, like the first room where there's a sacrifice, that pit that they're building with humans. And then you get to see it actually completed when you leave the house at the end. I thought that was fantastic. And always a fan of mannequins and real people mixed in so you don't know where they are. And the fact that they could move them around, I thought that was awesome as well. And that maple pole, right? Maypole, sorry.
A maple pole.
A maple pole, yeah. That maypole, I loved it.
Yeah.
The fact that the like intestine linings instead of strings was amazing. Yeah, this was the gore house. Like this was heavy gore.
For sure.
Even more than The Exorcist, which is hard to say, but you know, it was awesome. And I remember one run through that we had, and again, we did this the most out of any house, so we got a lot of good run throughs. But one hilarious run through, I met up with Kenneth and Maddie from Rush of Fear, and
I was with you. That was on the RIP.
Was it the RIP? That was okay. That was with his friend working, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I knew what you were going to talk about.
One of his buddies was in there, and like literally the guy like stopped scaring everybody else and just hit the step and repeat over and over and over and over again, and just kept on saying the same line over to us. It was hilarious. I thought that was one of the funniest things I've ever seen in the house, and he's just still looking menacing. He wasn't trying to be friendly. He's just trying to say, "I'm going to kill you. I'm going to barbecue." You know,
he got right in our faces, like stepped out of his hole, got in our faces, and would just bam, bam, bam on the trigger.
Yeah. It was amazing. Yeah. I just thought that was a fun little thing there. But aside from that, again, just phenomenal house. It's I hope they do something like that almost every year.
Interesting.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love the fact that it was your number
go ahead.
10 and ended up being your number 1. Like for me, I had it at number 10. It ended up being my number 2. Like I had no interest in it.
This had to be the underdog house this year.
Without a doubt. Yeah.
A lot of people. It's not just us here. I've read on many pages and stuff that people just love this house, and for good reason.
Yep.
For sure.
And what's great is its location. Its wait time was never super high.
No, it wasn't.
No.
I feel like it's because people didn't really have much like expectations for that, and they're just doing like other things. Like somebody would know what a Yeti is over what Blood Moon is. So let's go do that instead.
Yeah, they would rather wait twice.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say they would rather wait twice as long to see Stranger Things than Blood Moon.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and it's over by itself. Like it's not next to anything else. So it's not like, you walk in Dueling Dragons, you come out, oh, well, let's just go right here into this one. It's totally by itself. So to go to it, you had to go to it. You know what I mean?
Was that where Coven was last year or Hellblock?
Yep.
Coven, yeah.
Hellblock.
So what was where Coven was last year?
Where was Coven?
Was it Exorcist?
What was in the Fallon queue this year?
Dueling, no?
Stranger Things.
Oh, yeah.
Stranger Things.
Must have been where Exorcist was then.
I think it's where Exorcist was. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Let's go with Laura. What do you got? Your number one?
My number 1 is Yeti or Not. Here they come.
Yes. It wasn't mine, but
awesome.
I'm so pleased that
I
you
knew
got
it
it that
was
high.
campy. It was campy. It was exactly what I wanted. And as much as I like being scared in the really, really scary houses, I love laughing and being scared by big, tall, scary Yetis more than anything. So that was my favorite.
Nice. I wouldn't disagree with that at all. Like I said, on any other year, it would have been my number 1.
It's one of those things like we're talking about the top 3, and for the most part, I don't think anybody would disagree with other people's opinions.
No,
here,
absolutely
it's
not.
Very interchangeable.
Yeah, those top 3 that most people have got in. Yeah, apart from Michelle's. I wouldn't necessarily. I understand why she's got it there. To be fair.
Yeah.
Because she needs.
Speaking of Michelle, you went number 2.
You don't
number 1.
You don't understand where my number 1 is?
No, I said I understand
why
you've got it there because you need one.
So my number 1 is Exorcist. Thanks, Lee.
You're welcome.
I have really good reasons for this. So one, the biggest reason is my first run through of this is the first time in a long time that I have been that scared in a house. Like I was legit scared. And it felt like my first time going to HHN again, which was great.
Because the demon inside her felt like it was trying to get forced out of her body. That's why she was so scared.
Oh, it was so good though. Like that, and the first night, the scare actors were like on it. Like the one that was in the chair. Holy crap!
Yeah.
She was like all over the place and reaching out, like you could barely get by her. Which was so freaking good. And it just felt so like there was no downtime where you could take a breath, in my opinion. Like the whole time I felt like I was about to get scared, which was great. But then like every other time I went through it too, I loved it as well. However, it did get less scary. I did notice, and I don't know if an accident happened or something in the first week where the girl was reaching out, because that first night there was no chain or rope up in front of her blocking you off from going into the dining room area. But my next time I went a couple weeks later, they had a chain up and like some kind of buffer on the floor so that you couldn't go into the dining room, and she wasn't reaching out as much. So I don't know what happened or what caused that, but it did get a little less scary.
Idiot, probably.
Maybe. I don't know. However, it was so good. It was so good. And then before my last time going, which was in October, was right after, like we went to Halloween Horror Nights the night after the movie came out. So before I left to go to Florida, I went and saw this movie.
Nice.
And so I was able to go through it again after having seen the movie, and I loved it even more after that. Because I knew then like what I was seeing, and I was able to piece it together. Like I said to Laura earlier, the only part I didn't understand was the like that opening scene that we walked through, but I guess that makes sense. They were in Haiti. Yeah. However, it wasn't necessary. It had nothing to do with the storyline. But it was so good. I loved it so much. It was scary to me. It was always scary to me. And even the last time I went through it, I had to go through it with my ears plugged so that I could really look at the sets and the scenery to try to remember and place it in the movie so that I wasn't getting scared. Because when I was getting scared, my eyes were closed. So I had to plug my ears so my eyes could stay open.
You need to hand in your Halloween Horror Nights card, by the way.
I don't know. I loved it. It was great.
I wouldn't disagree. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, going back to the thing, it's like,
I liked it a bit.
Is Exorcist #1? Sure. I mean, it was a great house.
It was a traditional, like that's what you think a scary house should be.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Let's see. Tracy.
I think me and Lee can probably go together.
Shall we?
Yeah.
Are we giving it its full title?
Yeah.
You don't know
what
it
it written
is.
down
That's
as
fine,
something different.
Universal Monsters Unleashed. It's not. It's Unmasked.
I know. I put Unleashed.
You should have just did the adjective. Just the fantastic Universal Monsters.
Yeah.
Unmasked.
Oh, it was stunning. The fact that you started off outside and with the policeman above you and you go into the sewers, and it's just an absolute feast for the eyes. We are ignoring the dodgy accent.
Extra, read all about it. Come and get me out of this terrible house.
It was very stereotypical. I loved this house. I had so many good run-throughs. And even the bits that people hated, like
Michelle.
The Phantom. Nobody hated Michelle.
Oh, dang.
The Phantom-y bits, I loved those. Like Laura said about the curtains, I got that it was backstage. And having been caught up in the curtains backstage, it's, I wouldn't say scary, worrying, disconcerting, because your mind just starts to say you're never ever getting out of these things.
Like you're never going to make it out of those curtains is what it feels like.
You feel like you're suffocated. Which at first run through, when I went through that, I felt like it was, oh no, is this another one where it's a lot of like downtime, there's nothing going on here. And then the more I went through, the more I got it. For me, The Invisible Man was my favourite, very closely followed by Hunchback and that bungee drop. There was only one time that I didn't get it, and I think that was the last run through, and he seemed to be having some trouble with his harness because there was a guy up there, and I don't think he was...
We were together on that last run through.
You got him, you waited.
All right.
Because I was in front of you. Because I've seen where they're getting strapped in, but that seemed to really take more time, so... But yeah, I had so many good run-throughs on there. And this house had one of my favourite... Yeah, and it was yours as well, wasn't it?
There's two we commented watching the walkthrough last night.
But it was in another house, one of our favourite, like, boo holes that was in another house as well. It was also in Yeti, and it's a mirrored wall. So you don't even know there's a boo hole there because of the reflections. Yeah. And then it just steps out. But with the one in...
The double mirror. A mirror and then a hole in the wall that looks like a mirror because it's set up with the candelabra on both sides.
Oh, that was amazing, that one.
So cool.
But again, lots of distraction tactics used in this house. It was dark enough and then you had candlelight. It was so eerie at times. I thoroughly enjoyed this one. Came out of it buzzing every time.
Yeah, it was so good.
Yeah.
I am a huge fan of Horror Nights houses where they put scare actors in places that they don't normally put scare actors, and this had it in abundance. So that, not necessarily a scare actor, but the gendarme in the facade. Amazing. That someone pointed out later on that he's talking to someone. Turns out it's the Invisible Man, which is so cool. The entrance facade for Monsters, the Legends Collide last year was amazing. And this just took it to the next level.
Absolutely.
I walked in and my jaw dropped. Spine rip scene. I am a sucker for a spine rip scene. It takes me back to 2015. I adore that. The Invisible Man was awesome in it. I still like when he comes out, my fingers around your throat.
I love
that
it.
line.
Yeah.
I kind of like the sections with not a lot going on because I don't get scared. But for someone who does, I think that lull, but anticipation of something might happen is potentially worse than something happening. Because if you go through a house where it's scare, you're like, oh.
You get desensitized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give you a section where there might be a scare coming, but there doesn't, but you don't know. Sets you up even more, I think. I don't get that, but the potential for it's there. Yeah, that dodgy French accent's terrible.
The
bungee, every single time. The first run through that house, I saw him up there and I saw those bungee cords attached. I was like, I know what's happening here. I'm not moving. And I stood, feet planted, like gesturing him, come on. And I stood every time we went through that house waiting for him to do that. And Chucky did it in the Chucky house, but Hunchback did it much better.
Oh, yes.
It was just a perfect house. And you guys know I am not the biggest Universal Monsters fan at all.
Yep.
And especially with like C-tier level Invisible Man, Hunchback, and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Who looked like one of the Yetis, to be fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That did confuse me the first couple of run-throughs.
Just phenomenal. It was.
Yeah, me too.
I've wrote down on my notes here. I'm not 100%, but I'm going to say when I wrote those notes, I felt this is my favorite house of all time.
Wow.
At Horror Nights.
Wow.
What?
Wow, that's big words. I would still place Yeti Terror of the Yukon above this.
No, but Blood Moon pushed it hard, I'll be honest.
Oh, I'm still not 100% sure I've made the right choice there.
Very hard.
The margin between those two houses for me, I don't think you could actually get a slip of paper between.
That Sunday night we did Blood Moon for the first time at the RIP tour, and I was like, do you know what? I think that might be my number one. I was like, I found it really hard to admit it at that point because I'm like, Monsters was so good. And I don't want to admit that Blood Moon has jumped up so much that it's pushing my number one. But I'm happy with my list at this point.
Okay.
So I've collated them all and got it's not host because Laura isn't a host, but she's a guest host tonight. So the host and guest hosts list. So at number one, we have Blood Moon. At number two, Yeti.
Okay.
Monsters at number three. Joint fourth, Exorcist and Oddfellow. Then Dueling Dragons, Darker Steel. Then joint, whatever we're at that point, eighth, I guess, Stranger Things and The Last of Us, and Chucky Way Out at number 10.
I'm not unhappy with that.
All right.
Damn.
Yeah.
Stranger Things and The Last of Us holding down the rear.
Yeah. Who would
and by a lot. It was a big.
Sad.
It's a big jump.
3 of the 4 IPs being 7, 8, and 9 effectively. 8, 9, and 10 is interesting.
In my opinion, they should just stop wasting their money on those expensive IPs.
Yeah.
I completely agree with you. I mean,
and maybe have 50,000 people less coming to the park, and we'd have.
I agree.
Oh,
which
but
means
that
they're never
doesn't sound good for
it.
their pocketbook, Laura.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not going to listen to me. I'm just suggesting it.
But then the argument
is
$280
a piece.
How much are they paying for those licenses? Are they making more money off the price of the license? Would the offset
That's true.
might not necessarily be as big a deal as you think.
That's true. Run the numbers, Universal. Run the numbers.
But don't forget,
they're bringing people in just for having them.
That's a very good point. Yes, Tracy's point. The merchandising, is huge. Even though I was very disappointed with the Last of Us merch this year. To be fair, very. They had 5 things, I think: a T-shirt, a long sleeve T-shirt, a mug, another T-shirt, and a coaster, I think.
Oh, it screams Last of Us.
The last place you
sure
put your
does.
cup of tea.
Oh, you know, it's the apocalypse, but you don't dare leave a tea ring on that table.
Yeah, exactly.
Use a coaster.
Well, we're nearly 2.5 hours in at this point, everyone. I hope you stuck with us till the end.
Good luck editing.
Yeah.
I'm not editing.
All you, one of you.
Yeah.
And Brian.
I'm Brian.
No, Brian off an hour and a half ago.
I don't blame him. You were giving him enough abuse at the beginning.
That's what he likes.
All right.
I should have. I'm starving.
Before we
Me too.
deviate any further, let's wrap this bad boy up. So that is going to end another podcast, and we will do so with a Universal Is. This time it comes from Jack Teal. And thanks for joining us, and we'll see you back next week for more Universal Orlando content. But for now, Jack says Universal is my therapy. Mine too, buddy.
That was another episode of the Unofficial Universal Orlando Podcast, the best and only podcast about Universal Orlando on the island. Check us out on social media on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Pinterest. Just search UUO Podcast. For all the podcasts, news, and articles, check out our blog at uuopodcast.com. Contact us at podcast@uuopodcast.com. Join the Producers Club by emailing us at uuopproducers@gmail.com. Listen and subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and everywhere else podcasts are found. Check out our friends, the Theme Park Duo, for all your other theme park news, and email Michelle at portkeyvacations.net to book your next trip. So until next time, this is Amity 6, call off the Marines, we're coming home.